To begin with, we're going to start with the back, and of course you will apply oil for massage therapy. The best way to do that is to drop it in your hands and then just apply it. You don't want it to be too thick, too slippery. You don't want it to be just barely there. You want it to have a very good viscosity. So that's why we put it in our hands first. It's much more polite to do it that way as well, because when you just drop the oil on their back, it might be cold, it causes a little shock, and it's not really conducive to starting out with a very relaxing attitude. So there we go. I want to be sure that I get an understanding of pressure and how to work into muscles, because that's where a lot of people miss it. They're not using their hands sensitively. So you want to make sure that your hands also have a little oil on them. And then we'll start up here at the neck. Now the base of the skull is right here, and that's where you're going to start. You're going to place your fingers, your thumbs actually, right in at the very base of the skull. That's where muscles are attached to that. And one thing I want to get across to all of you is that you need to go from origin to insertion. What I'm doing here is just pulling some oil up because the oil was a little thin there. So this way we'll make sure that it's not going to be pulling skin. So you place your thumbs on either side. The vertebrae is here. You place the thumbs on either side of that vertebrae, and then you're going to slide down on either side of the vertebrae. When we go down the vertebrae, where you start is you start here at the base of the skull. So you're right tight in there. Your thumbs are running right here, right along this vertebrae. So it's going like that. It's very tiny, so my thumbs are big, but you're running all the way down here. Now what you're going to do is slide down the back with this thumb iron type of technique, but you're not going to push hard. You're going to begin by just melding in with that muscle and putting enough pressure to where you feel the muscle opening up. If the muscle isn't opening up and it's pushing back on you, then back out and just wait at that pressure where it's inviting you in. Little by little, it will open up and allow you to go deeper. So you just move yourself down the spine, little by little, feeling what you're feeling. Sometimes you'll feel maybe a little bump. Sometimes you might feel more tension. Then you spread your thumbs out along the hip line, bringing those fingers back up and then pulling back up. Now the depth might be a little bit more as you come up because the muscle has been a little more relaxed all the way up to the neck. It's nice to do this about 3 times. You can also spread the thumbs here with the same technique. You don't push in hard, you just meld with that muscle and give enough pressure to where it's going to open up and let you in. This is where a lot of massage people really miss it, because they push in with such force and the muscle is just going to fight back with you until it goes into muscle failure. So stretch yourself across here, the shoulders, only going up it to the bone. You're on the muscle and you're not going into the scapula. You're staying on the edge of the scapula. Along here, there's where the scapula is, widening it here and here and here. Okay, back up to the neck, back down we go all the way. Now, again, it's just enough pressure to feel the muscles open. Now this time you're going to move a little bit farther outside of the vertebrae because the muscle is a band, so you're going more in the belly of the muscle rather than the edge where the attachments are. Bringing those fingers back up and sliding back up. There you can go close to the spine. There's a lot of attachments along that vertebrae and you want to be able to palpate them and get them to relax somewhat. Some of them are a little bit more tendinous, some of them are a little more ligament, and all of that is going to relax and release in its own way. I'm going a little farther down here, only up to the scapula, just to open up the back. Okay, back up. One more time. Down with this thumb iron type of work. I'm not overly excited about labeling what the strokes are because it's all really in your hands how you do it. So then we come back up. And here the fingers are even a little more broad because you've done 3 times down, so you're covering the strap of that muscle a little bit better. It's the erector spinae. Runs along the vertebrae. Taking the hands a little wider with the pressure here on the inside of the thumb, you can go down the back on one side, and then as you come up, bring the other hand down. You see the weight is on that side of the hand. And you soften the hand as you come up. So you're softening the hand, you're putting the pressure on the way down. Working it one way and then the other way. And feeling that muscle. You want to be attaching yourself into these muscles. Okay. Spreading it out with the palms of your hand, the whole hand, just spreading it out. Okay, now to come up. For demonstration, I'm going to be doing just one side because of the camera, so you will just repeat the other side and I'll let you know when to do that. Okay, so now we're going to take the fingers back up here at the base of the skull and follow that muscle. It's the trapezius muscle. You're going to follow it out all the way to where the clavicle and the scapula come together. It's more called the acromion, but all the way, you can feel it. You can just feel it's a little pathway. When you're taking yourself out to the end, you're coming out to the ends here. The clavicle meets. There's a little joint here called the acromioclavicular joint, and the scapula comes together fairly close there. The acromion is this little, it's a little bump up there. So this is where you're going to take when you're working in towards, or when you're pulling out, you work along, coming to that point, across the scapula as well. And then you move down that trapezius muscle a little bit, so you're going a little lower, and then following the scapula up. So you're drawing a line around the scapula, more or less. That way you're getting origins to insertions, taking it here from the vertebrae to the scapula. Now here you can start going down, around, and again to the scapula. That bump there that you might have seen, that's just a muscle going over the top of another muscle. You have to distinguish between where the muscles are, so I would urge you all to get an anatomy book, just at least one of muscles, and study it, just so you know where the muscles are, how they are layered. And we can go up here, under the scapula here. So here we're going up under the scapula. Scapula's here, the thumbs are going right along it here. Okay, that's where we're doing on this side over here. Okay. Then you can come up and start at the opposite direction, where you're going to be in the corner here of that area that you stopped before, but you're going the other way. You're going to bend around and right up into the back of the head. Again, moving it over just a little bit. So this way what you're doing is you're getting every area of the muscle. You're not just shortcutting it. You're being thorough, you're being precise, you're being deliberate and intentional at what you're doing. It's not just, moving your hands around, rubbing on somebody's body. It's got an intention. Now here we are starting at the scapula, following it, and we're going a little bit different, in a different line than the trapezius runs. The fibers run more like this, and we're going across them. So you're getting a kind of a cross fiber friction type of work. And then we go down to the point of that trapezius, and that's where you end. And then you can take your fingers, and here you're going to go along the scapula and pick up the skin a little bit. We'll knead the skin. You're not really picking it up. You're actually picking the muscle up as well, but it looks like the skin. But you're down in there, and you're going to the two sides of the attaching points and around the scapula. I'm going to move over to this one so you can see. So around the scapula. Then you can go and work across the teres muscles where you're starting on the scapula and moving across, following the bone. So the scapula is shaped there. You're going to follow the bone. This is done on I'm doing this on the other side for visual purposes, but this is what you would do on the side I was on. I'm sure you'll be able to understand that. So just stay on the side you're on and then repeat this and go to the other side and you'll do it just fine. And you just cross up to the very top of the scapula, and there we are. And then you can do some kneading along the top of the scapula. Now also you go along the long way, just up and down. Now this is a bone. You don't really want to massage on bone, but there's a lot of muscle over the top of it. Again, your pressure is where the muscles are letting you in. You're not pushing hard, and you're not just staying featherly light. Okay, now if we want to pick up the scapula next, you take your hand and you put it underneath the shoulder, which would look like this. You're picking it up, putting it underneath the shoulder, and then lifting the scapula up so that it lifts up. So while it's lifting up, then you're going to just take your hands alongside. There, the muscles are underneath here. There's the bone. You just want to take the fingers alongside and around. Alongside. And you can start up, it's better to start up a little higher than where I started the first time and move it so that it's around. And then one more where you take it from a big sweep and around. And so I'll do it on this side so you can see it a little bit differently. You can go up or down either way. Around and up. I'll do it the same way I did it. So it's around and up. And then you can also go the other direction, which is probably easier when you're on the right side of it. So that's getting underneath. And you're going to find some different bumps, sort of bumps, but it's just muscles. You can tell the tension of the muscle. So now that you've worked that, if you find muscles that are still fairly tense or tight, you want to analyze it to see if it's just, if it's like a nervous tension, or if it's just a tension because the muscle's been worked and it's a little more toned. If it has a fairly soft feeling, then it's probably just a more developed muscle. So that's the upper part of the back. Now we're going to move down, taking the side of the hand, running along that scapula, and then just pulling everything downward as you go at an angle, with the weight of the hands more on the little finger side, but going through every little area of the body of the side. And then you're down at the hip line. There's the hip line. Okay, on this side, just going back and forth along the hip line with the same kind of pressure, where the muscles are asking you to come in, but they're not pushing you back out. Here's where we talk about the hip crest. It's actually the top of the sacrum, and you're brushing across like so. So when you're working down in this area here, it's across this area where the sacrum is, and you're feeling the bone, and you're following that pattern. And what you want to do here is you'll feel how well the attachments are, how healthy they are. Sometimes there's a lot of little bumps going on here. Sometimes you'll get little ruptures that happen just in maybe the muscle sheath. This part of the back works very hard. Now, what's good to do here is little thumb rolls going across that hip. There's a lot of attachments here, so it's good to work that. It always feels good too. Those little thumb rolls. And I'll show you on this side, as you can see a little better. It's just working like that. Now remember, when I cross side to side, you don't do that. You stay on the same side and then you repeat it on the other side. I'm doing that simply for demonstration. Now with the thumbs, we're going to go back up the spine, but this time it's going to be on one side only, right next to the vertebrae. And again, you put enough pressure in as you're going up that the muscles are opening. If they're opening well, then apply a little bit more pressure. But don't just go driving your thumbs in there, because you're going to not get effective work done that way. You're going to make it uncomfortable for the person on the table, and you're going to be fighting the body. And then sweep your hand back down. Now you're going to go a little bit farther outside of the vertebrae to the belly of that erector muscle, which kind of changes shape as it goes up, but you'll need to have an anatomy book to look at. And sweep the hand back down lightly, and then on the edge of that muscle, so you're farther out yet. And up we go. Okay. And you can sweep back down. Then what is going to happen next here on this side is you're going to do thumb rolls. Now this is, you've worked down to here. Now we're going to start, and it is on the opposite side. You take your thumb and you just, at the sacrum, the L5S1, you want to take the thumb and just kind of roll from the vertebrae around, like so. You're pushing the muscle out, and you can actually feel the muscle press out. Again, don't take the pressure hard. Take the pressure where the body wants it, where the muscle is opening, and the work is easy. You're not forcing your way in. That is not a good way to achieve what you want to achieve. You take this all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, rolling those thumbs, separating the muscle a little bit from the vertebrae, or stretching it really is a better way to put it. A nice long sweep along that top of that edge of that trapezius is nice. A lot of this is just because it feels good, and it's lengthening and it's honoring the muscles from origin to insertion. Here, hold with your finger, just place it at the base of the skull where the muscles attach, and then draw the thumb down on the side you just rolled the thumbs up on. Okay, then you go, on this one you do go to the other side and you repeat that. So it's repeating, rolling, 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 rolling. Up we go, up we go, up we go. Okay, all the way to the top. And then again, bringing that back down, holding it, just anchoring there, all the way back down. Okay, then you will go to the other side and repeat everything from the stretching this way and just the repeating what you did on this side, including the thumb rolling. The thumb rolling is going to go on that side and then that side. So next we're going to do the vibration, where your two fingers are at the base of the skull, hand across, and you rock it back and forth. You kind of curl your fingers to hold on, and you really start it when you get to about C7. But you give a little feel to the neck muscle so it doesn't feel incomplete. You want it to feel complete. And there you vibrate back and forth. all the way down, close to the vertebrae. And again, with the amount of pressure that the muscles are letting you in. Brushing across the back cresting of the hip, thumbs going in. Now when we go up this way, so that's that. When you're coming up the vertebrae, you can see, and here's how the vertebrae open a little more. It's not articulating, but you push in here as you go up the vertebrae, you're going to get all of that opened up, and you want to go all the way up into the head area. We're going close to the vertebrae, and the vertebrae tend to open up when we're going up this way, so it gives a different articulation to the vertebrae. Again, press in, go slow, feel those muscles, feel just enough pressure to where the muscles are allowing you to come in. It somewhat will feel like you're ironing out a wrinkle. If you go too deep, you're going to get more resistance, and if you just are brushing on the surface, it's not going to do really much of anything. Okay. Then after we get up there, you notice that you come all the way up to the end point of the muscle. Now you want to take the two fingers, and now here you're going to go around. You'll find the bump, and then you're going to go around that bump on the vertebrae. And you do this down the spine. It's kind of tricky around the neck, but there you can see it. You just go around each vertebrae. It gives a little bit of feeling of relaxation between the muscles between there, and it opens up some more. It's important to pay attention to the back. There's a lot that goes on with the back. You know, the nervous system, the spinal cord is in there, and the nervous system is a pretty important thing. But there's also meridians, the governing vessel, and other important things that just run along the spine. So there we are. We're all the way down to the bottom. And then again, spreading both sides. Now you're just going to take your hand and spread one side. Okay. You can see how the scapula is over the rib cage. When you're doing the sweeping, you're getting your fingers inside of those intercostal muscles through the lower part of the rib cage, and then you're taking everything over the top of the scapula. And you are getting a little bit into the rib cage, but it's very hard to distinguish it at that point. Here, when you get to the ribs, you want to feel your fingers going between the ribs, and you're following the rib line. That way you're getting into the intercostal muscles a little bit. Going around that scapula here, there's nothing you can do but just go over the scapula and all the way up into the shoulder. I'll show you this on the other side. You come through and then find the angle of the ribs. And then across the shoulder. Back to the other side, and this way you wrap the body up this way. You just pull. This is like the whole mass of muscles. You're not really being precise here. It's more of a general sweep of the muscles. Wrapping them all in, kind of letting them go back into place after being palpated more individually. Plus it feels good. And then at the top, you can do another thumb iron move back down. You'll notice probably some changes in the way the tissue feels. And draw yourself back up. And just, it's nice to end in kind of an artistic way, running across the shoulders and then up. Okay, so in summary, you do one side and then the other side, with the exception of the thumb rolls, go on both sides. When you're doing the thumb rolls, you go both sides and then finish up on one side, other side, until you get to the thumb rolls, both sides. Then you're going to finish up on that side. Then you're going to go and just do the work on the spine and finish up that way. So I hope that's clear. And if not, just try to communicate with me some way, and I'll help you to figure out where the confusion might be if you have any or any questions. Okay, that's the back.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And I think there's a little bell up there that you can hit that you'll get a notification every time we post. So if you want to, you can hit that too. But thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.